여러분 안녕하세요. 저는 지금 서울 강남 지역에 와 있습니다. 어디를 가려고 하냐면요. 바로 이곳입니다. 여기에요. 코엑스. 오늘 코엑스에서 카페쇼가 열리는데 이 카페쇼에 저희를 초대해 주신 대사님이 계십니다. 함께 들어가서 만나보시죠.
It was my first time at the cafe show.
목걸이를 받았습니다.
The Seoul International Cafe Show is the world's largest business platform held every November to revitalize the global coffee industry and F&B culture. Around 3,533 brands from 627 companies from 25 countries around the world participated last year. Today's mission is to find the ambassador who invited us here.
저희 지금 351번 부스를 찾아야 되거든요. 여기 것 같아. Hello, Ambassador. Hi, nice to see you. Hi. Thank you for inviting us.
The person who invited us here today is the ambassador of Sri Lanka to Korea. If you like tea, you've probably heard of Ceylon Tea before. Ceylon Tea is a brand used on tea produced in Sri Lanka, and the logo uses a lion pattern from Sri Lanka's national flag. This logo can only be used for tea products that have been 100% produced in Sri Lanka. I'm going to find out everything about Sri Lankan tea. In order to do that, I have to find out what Sri Lankan tea tastes like. The first one I'm going to try is a tea called Nuora Elia, which is grown in the alpine regions.
So,
It had a fresh fragrance.
How do you like it?
it's very mild.
We have 7 different black teas, depending on the regions they are grown. And each level has different climate. And because of that, each region has a distinct flavor.
So they are handpicked.
They are handpicked. It's very eco-friendly. And I think Sri Lanka is the only ozone-friendly certified tea in the world.
Oh, really?
So Sri Lanka is the number one top exporter in the world for the orthodox style. It's a kind of a processing. Orthodox tea is the regarded as the number one process to have a very good quality tea.
It's got a lot of energy and it's very good for your mind, like to clear your mind. So a lot of students drink it. It has antioxidants. So ladies like to drink it because it makes them clear skin, pretty.
I was able to find out that tea has many different effects. Now it's time to try tea grown from the lowlands.
This is really strong.
It's really strong.
I don't think Koreans drink this much strong tea. But I really like this one. Yeah.
I was able to learn about the new charm of black tea.
Sri Lanka is one of the world's 4 major tea producers along with China, India, and Kenya. Ceylon tea is a type of black tea that is recognized as the best in the world. The name Ceylon derives from Sri Lanka's former name. Tea was introduced to Sri Lanka for the first time in 1824 and the tea business began in 1867. In 1927, Sri Lanka's tea production volume exceeded 100,000 tons and surpassed 200,000 tons in the 1960s. In 1965, Sri Lanka became the #1 exporter of tea in the world. Sri Lanka's tea is mostly grown on the island's central highlands, which is advantageous in producing high-quality tea due to its humidity, cool temperature, and rainfall. Sri Lankan tea is largely divided into three categories: low-grown, mid-grown, and high-grown, depending on the cultivation region's altitude above sea level.
Sri Lankan desserts that can be eaten with tea were prepared.
And especially this, because that has a slightly sugar taste.
The sweet dessert and slightly bitter tea tasted great together.
Sweet. It's not very sweet. It's mildly sweet with the tea.
It is time to taste the next dessert.
약간 약과 같은 맛이에요. It tastes very similar to Korean traditional dessert called 약과.
The flower-like thing. I love it. I love it. And I kind of got addicted to it because of the familiarity of the taste.
I wondered what other Koreans would think.
이거 어떠세요? 맛이?
약간 떡 같아. 떡 같은.
약간 약과 같지 않아요?
맞아. 전통 우리 약간 비슷한 맛.
맛있었어요? 오, she told me the same thing. Like Korean rice cake.
Oh my god.
While I was at it, I decided to ask others what they thought about Sri Lankan tea and dessert.
다 지역마다 좀 특색이 다르니까 자기 취향에 따라서 골라서 마실 수도 있고.
스리랑카 차 드셔보신 소감이 어떠셨어요?
깔끔하고 개운한 것 같아요. 이게 외국 음식 같지 않고 국내 과자처럼 아주 바삭하고 고소하고 좋았어요.
The Korean response to Sri Lankan tea was very favorable.
So you have four booths, four companies.
So this is relative tea.
So these are another kinds of tea? These are
syrups.
uh-huh.
From tea syrup to non-fermented tea and various types of tea, I learned a lot of new information about Sri Lankan tea. What would Sri Lankan tea industry insiders think about the Korean market?
I think it's an evolving market where there is a lot of innovative tea products like herbal infusions, instant teas, liquid teas. Yeah, so as a company, I think we have a good play in that area.
It's not a traditional market, I would say. The people in Korea has moved from the tradition to the next level. So they are moving to more like value-added products.
We currently export to about 35 different countries, including South Korea. So we have, very premium black tea in tea bags as well as loose leaf teas. We have also functional teas like organic teas with herbs.
We are interested in getting our brands from our retail side, but we are also interested in even opening the cafe at some point.
The ambassador introduced us to the CEO of a company that imports Sri Lankan tea and develops products using them.
And you can see they've got diverse varieties and they're based here as well.
기본적으로 스리랑카에서 나는 좋은 차는 다 수입하고 있다 이렇게 보시면 돼요. 근데 거기까지만 하는 게 아니고 우리는 이제 그 수입한 재료를 가지고 다양한 제품 만들어가는 거여서 우리가 저 앞에 보시다시피 이런 베이스류들 이런 쪽으로 만들어가지고 바로 카페에서 이제 쓰기 쉽게 만드는 그런 상품을 개발하고.
We tried the product that this company developed.
유명한 카페에서도 많이 쓰세요.
맛있어요.
It's great to see Sri Lankan product with a blend of the Korean innovation. So that's very exciting for us as well.
Cooperation between Korea and Sri Lanka was taking place in an unexpected place.
톡톡님, 저 왔습니다.
Oh, how was the cafe show?
엄청 크고 사람 진짜 많았어요. 근데 공부 지금 먹은 이게 막 그리고 볶음이라고
Okay, that's enough.
아 근데 저희 대사님 또 만나기로 했어요. 서울에 스리랑카 차를 파는 가게가 있다고 해서 거기서 또 한 번 보기로 했습니다.
Oh, really?
네.
While you were at the cafe show, I did some research on Sri Lanka. There were a lot of interesting themes.
어떤 거요?
For example, did you know that Sri Lanka is home to Theravada Buddhism?
오, 몰랐어요.
Buddhism spread to Sri Lanka in 250 BC.
오, 역사가 진짜 오래됐네요. 재밌다.
What about discussing Buddhism in Sri Lanka with the ambassador?
오, 좋아요. 그럼 톡톡님이 자료랑 다 찾아주시는 거죠?
Of course.
감독님, 저희 지금 오늘 어디에 와 있습니까? 사무실이죠. 보이십니까? 롯데월드타워. 왜냐고요? 이 안에 스리랑카 차를 파는 카페가 있거든요. 갑시다. 롯데타워로. 아직 오픈 전이에요. 아직 그렇게 손님들이 없어서 되게 한산하고. 찾았습니다. 아, 여기입니다.
We were able to see a diverse array of teas filling the wall. It was a cafe that had a grand yet charming interior.
이런 색깔, 딱 해질녘을 진짜 딱 표현을 한 것 같네요. 뭔가 약간 디즈니 애니메이션에 나올 것 같은 느낌?
We decided to set up the cameras before the customers came in.
떡이랑 약과를 준비했습니다. 제가 이걸 왜 가지고 왔냐면 전에 대사님이 약과 이야기를 하셨거든요.
We're going to try Sri Lankan tea with Korean desserts today. Finally, the ambassador has arrived.
Ambassador, hi! Good to see you again. How have you been?
Good, good. Good to see you.
So great to see you again.
Would you like to come and try some tea?
Sure, sure.
And meet Mr. Kim, who's behind.
The ambassador introduced us to the CEO of this cafe.
저 혹시 인터뷰 잠깐 할 수 있을까요, 대표님?
I had a lot of questions for him.
어떻게 처음에 이 브랜드를 한국에 소개하게 되셨는지.
제가 평소에 실론티를 홍차를 좋아했었습니다.
아, 네네네.
스리랑카를 방문했을 때 이 티를 보고 디자인이나 맛이나 감동을 받게 돼서 한국에 소개하게 되었습니다. 1980년대까지만 해도 홍차 소비량이 커피보다 한국에 많았었거든요. 근데 이제 일반적으로 커피를 많이 이용을 하다가 이제 홍차에 다시 또 다른 맛을 보다 보니까 한국 시장에서 점점 이게 시장이 커져가는 것 같습니다.
I could feel the passion for tea in his words.
So maybe we should order a tea.
Yes.
Can you recommend one for me?
I think cream fantasy sounds
Okay,
lovely.
okay.
And I'm going to try a traditional English breakfast
Okay.
because that's my favorite.
Okay, okay. Let's order.
It was time to order the tea.
브렉퍼스트 하나랑 감사합니다. 이게 잉글리시 브렉퍼스트예요?
Yes, that's English breakfast. Okay, so you see the beautiful golden color?
Yeah. Cream fantasy. I like the name of the tea. Oh, the
You
smell.
have a lovely smell?
Yeah. I want to make a perfume out of this scent.
You should ask me.
Wow. It's very interesting that I can taste the cream.
Do you?
Yeah. Wow, I love this tea.
So these are the new flavors, and tea is just not the flavor, it's the scent as well. So whether you drink the English breakfast or a flavored tea, it hits like 2 or 3 senses, the taste, the aroma.
I really like this one. And I prepared you some Korean traditional dessert. This is yakgwa, so Korean honey pastry, and this is a honey rice cake, 꿀떡.
Yes.
So maybe we could have Korean desserts with Sri Lankan tea.
Thank you for bringing this in because, like I said, yakgwa is perfect with the Sri Lankan tea. This is good. You take a bite of that, and then the tea.
I'll try that as well.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's amazing. It's really good. I feel like I'm eating a Sri Lankan sweet with my tea, like I do back home. It's really nice. It
Really?
tastes so similar.
So I did some research before I came here, and Sri Lanka is famous for its tea, but also for its Buddhist temples and sites. I've heard that over 70% of Sri Lankans are of Buddhist faith. Is it right?
That's correct. Most of us are Buddhist. But having said that, we are also a multi-ethnic, multi-religious country. That gives us a very rich ethnic and cultural and even cuisine foundation. And Buddhism initially came to Sri Lanka around the 3rd century BCE from India.
Sri Lanka, home to numerous priceless Buddhist artifacts, is often called the land of Buddhism, with over 2,300 years of Buddhist history. Buddhism was introduced to Sri Lanka in the 3rd century BC. Buddhism began to spread in earnest when Prince Mahinda, son of India's King Asoka, brought 4 monks with him to teach the Buddha's ways to the Sri Lankan king. After the king converted to Buddhism, Sri Lankans who had believed in Hinduism and other folk beliefs soon converted to Buddhism. From the 16th century, Sri Lanka endured the pain of imperialism for over 400 years, ruled in succession by Portugal, the Netherlands, and England. In the 19th century, when the British took full control of Sri Lanka and tried to wipe out Sri Lanka's traditions, Buddhism's place among the people also weakened. In August 1873, an event occurred in which Buddhism, in a precarious situation in Sri Lanka, was able to regain strength. Around 10,000 people gathered for the event, which elevated Buddhism's status, and it was thereafter called the Panadura debate, after the region where the controversy occurred. After World War II ended, Sri Lanka gained independence as the Dominion of Ceylon in 1948 as a member of the British Commonwealth, and then as an independent republic in 1972.
But before that, legend has it that Lord Gautama Buddha visited Sri Lanka 3 times, and he said to visit Kalaniya, which is just on the outskirts of Colombo, and Mayangana and Nagadeepa, which is in the north.
I know that there are 3 denominations in Buddhism, and I believe that Korean Buddhism is Mahayana. So I think there is a difference between Sri Lankan Buddhism and Korean Buddhism.
Buddhism was born in the 6th century BC. Over the past 2,500 years, it has been divided into several branches depending on the era and region. It can be largely divided into Mahayana and Theravada Buddhism. Theravada Buddhism is a sect that emphasizes personal nirvana, so practitioners immerse themselves in their own spiritual world and are separated from society for strict training. On the other hand, Mahayana Buddhism, which means great vehicle in Sanskrit, focuses on the salvation of the people. That is why the sect focused on spreading Buddhism to the public. Vajrayana, a branch of Mahayana Buddhism, can be added to divide Buddhism into 3 major branches. This sect mainly spread to Tibet and Nepal.
For us, every month in the full moon day is considered to be a holy day because it has a significance to Buddha's life. For example, the full moon day in May is the day the Buddha was born, achieved enlightenment as the Buddha, and also passed away. So on that day is what we call Vesak, which is celebrated by a lot of Theravada Buddhist countries. And we have a wonderful festival in Sri Lanka with lanterns and pandals, which are like big constructions showing Jataka stories. And then in July, August, we have the Asala pageant, which carries, it's a parade in Kandy, which carries the tooth relic of Lord Buddha in a parade on the back of a beautifully decorated elephant. And it's like been there for a couple of centuries now. And it has dancers, fire dancers, drummers, about 100 elephants. And it's an international pageant of very long history. So those are associated with Sri Lankan Buddhism. And we have numerous Buddhist sites as well.
You told me that there is a temples in Korea when you can get a feel of Buddhism in Sri Lanka, right?
Yes. We have about 7-8 Buddhist temples in Korea, but the most significant of that is the Maha Viharaya. That's a very traditional Sri Lankan temple. There are lots of Sri Lankan Buddhist monks in Korean temples as well. And there's very good collaboration, despite it being two different denominations.
Wow.
And we learn from each other.
I wondered what Sri Lankan temples in Korea would be like. So I asked Tok Tok to get filming permission at Maha Viharaya temple in Asan, which is the biggest Sri Lankan temple in Korea. On the last day of the Seollal holidays, I visited the Maha Viharaya temple.
여기는 아산이고요. 마하위하라 사원에 도착했습니다. 주지스님께서 여기 이렇게 하우스가 있거든요. 이 하우스 안에 계시다고 해서 하우스 안에 들어가 보겠습니다.
Isn't it interesting that there is a greenhouse at the temple?
우와, 뭐야 이거. 오, 스님. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요.
This is Sven Damakiti, the chief monk at Maha Viharaya temple.
나무가 엄청 많이 뭐라 그래? 식물원이라고 해야 되나?
네, 식물원인데
네.
사실 이 식물을 만들게 된 이유는
네.
이 머리수나무 때문이거든요.
네.
부처님이 선도하실 때
네.
그 머리수나무를 이지하면서 수행하셨다고 하거든요. 그러면서 그 스리랑카에 있는 머리수나무에서 그 가지를 받아서 한국과 스리랑카 수교 40년 기념으로 한국에 이제 그 모시고 와서 이제 심었거든요.
40주년이면 한 6년 전이네요.
네, 6년 전입니다.
At this botanical garden, there were many trees that are not easily found in Korea, other than the Bodhi tree. Many of the trees were from Sri Lanka.
어떻게 이렇게 한국에서 이 활동을 하고 계시는지, 포교 활동이라고 해야 될까요? 하고 계시는지.
네, 사실 제가 그 스리랑카에서 한국어를 이제 공부하러 이제 나오면서 독박사 과정을 한국에서 하면서 여기서 공부하면서 살다 보니까 이주민들이 많이 어려워하고 힘들어하고 그리고 또 한국 분들도 뭐 조기 불교라고 그 부처님의 말씀이 원래 전통적인 말씀을 배우고 싶다 그런 말도 많이 있었거든요. 그러면서 저는 이 두 가지 방법을 아우러서 함께 어떤 방법으로 할 수 있을까라는 생각이 들었습니다. 그래서 이 사원을 이제 짓게 됐거든요.
After the interview, I went inside the temple. Although it was a holiday afternoon, there were some people visiting the temple. What did the temple mean to them?
그리고 무슨 문제에서 다 물어보고 이런저런 것은 다 물어보고 여기서 편하게 우리에게 와서 얘기하고 지도하고 가요.
절에 오면은 뭐 해요?
스리랑카 공부해요.
여기 오면 스리랑카 친구들도 많이 만나요?
네.
그 철 있을 때는 우리나라 사람 같아요. 여기는 한국에도 그냥 맨날 왔다 갔다 손님 같이 말하면 기분이 좋다. 엄청 좋아요.
As it was my first time at the Sri Lankan temple, I decided to learn how to bow properly. What I remembered from Ben Damakiti's words were that there is no wisdom without mercy and no mercy without wisdom. I prayed that the world could be a more merciful and wise place.
So how are the two countries sharing exchange with Buddhism now?
Buddhist pilgrims from Korea visit Sri Lanka because we have very sacred Buddhist sites associated with the Buddha. One is the Sri Daladama Aligawa in Kandy, which houses the tooth relic of the Buddha, and it's hundreds of years old, and it's venerated by Buddhists just not in Sri Lanka but all over the world. It's a sacred site for a lot of Buddhists. Then in the north central province of Sri Lanka, we have a sapling of the tree where Lord Buddha became Buddha. So its sapling is planted in Sri Lanka and it is over 2,300 years old. It's still being worshipped from the day it came to Sri Lanka.
I've heard that before COVID-19, there were a lot of Korean tourists visiting Sri Lanka. How is the situation these days?
I'm very happy to say Sri Lanka is fully open to tourists, and we have seen quite a fast increase in the number of tourists arriving to Sri Lanka. And Korea also has relaxed its travel advisory. So I would encourage a lot of tourists to visit Sri Lanka because the numbers are increasing and it's an ideal time now because it's cold here and Sri Lanka is warm and sunny. And I would say, yeah, this is the time to visit Sri Lanka, so come visit us.
So lastly, Ambassador, is there a message that you'd like to convey to our viewers through this interview?
Please come and visit us. There's so many things you can see. Wildlife, sacred cities, beaches, adventure tourism. And for the potential investor, think about Sri Lanka. We have so much to offer you as well, and you have a lot of potential benefits as well from investing in Sri Lanka. So come see us and let's take it from there.
I learned so much about Sri Lanka in a comfortable mood, like talking to a friend I've known for a long time. And I decided to record everything I felt through my meeting with Sri Lankan Ambassador.
그럼 이거 익으면 따서 드세요?
네네, 우리가 사실 이게 2달 정도를 쯤에 익어요. 익으면
This is Viharaya, so can you say hi? 노래 좀만 해줄 수 있어요? 조금만. It's the tea.
Welcome.